In Palestine, health authorities and the British organization Save the Children denounced the death of 2 children by dehydration and malnutrition in Kamal Adwan Hospital. In Bolivia, Transport Vice Minister Israel Ticona died in a traffic accident when he was on his way to attend to the demands of protesters blocking the Cuatro Cañadas region in Santa Cruz. And in Argentina, governors of the Patagonia region called for dialogue, understanding and maturity from Javier Milei's administration. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from the TeleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. On Wednesday, the Ministry of Health of Gaza and the British organization Save the Children denounced the death of 2 children by dehydration and malnutrition in the hospital Kamal Adwan in north of Gaza. Precisely since January 23rd, the government of Israel has prevented the access of humanitarian aid to Gaza, despite the claims of the international community. In this regard, Jason Lee, director of the organization Save the Children for the occupied territories, assured the world is in the presence of a massive slaughter of children in slow motion. In this context, World Health Organization highlighted that according to official data, more than 10 children per day on average have lost one or both of their legs or arms in Gaza since Israel began its aggression on October 7th. In this sense, it assured that amputations in children are done without anesthetics and antibiotics due to Israel's total blockade. Egypt's government announced the launch of humanitarian aid to the Gaza Strip from planes of its air forces. According to local media, Cairo is conducting an operation to provide aid, shelter, and medical treatment to the thousands of Palestinians displaced by Israel's aggression in the Gaza Strip. The information highlights that the government of Egypt is preparing to establish a field hospital inside the Gaza Strip, as well as a 3rd refugee camp to care for Gazans who are victims of the Israeli genocide. The Gaza Strip has been experiencing a shortage of food and medical supplies since the beginning of Tel Aviv bombardments and ground incursions, which have left more than 29,000 dead. Syrian ambassador to the United Nations, Qusay al-Dahak, denounced that the economic blockade blocks humanitarian assistance and the return of refugees. The official pointed out that the illegal presence of foreign forces, the plundering of Syria's wealth, and the constant Israeli aggressions against its territory hinder the arrival of assistance. Al-Dahak also condemned the silence on part of the international community in the face of the plundering by U.S.-associated terrorists. The senior official demanded the UN to implement a mechanism to ensure that support reaches civilians in northeastern Syria. On Tuesday, the UN launched an appeal for $674 million in donations to support a plan designed to provide humanitarian aid to Haiti due to the current situation of the Caribbean country that has been severely affected by gang violence and one of the world's most devastating food crises. The plan aims to meet the needs of 3.6 million people, requiring the requested number in a context of underfunding of humanitarian operations. The report describes the multiplication of attacks on hospitals, schools, and places of worship, showing in 2023 the worst crime statistics of the last 5 years. Murders, rapes, and kidnappings have increased exponentially. In regard of food guarantees, according to the UN, 45% of the population is food insecure in Haiti. The violence and famine have collapsed the capacity of the state. For this reason, the United Nations will assist in areas such as food, health, education, and housing, but is still unable to provide lasting solutions. The Haitian Platform for the Defense of Alternative Development encourages social forces to file a complaint with the World Trade Organization following the results of a study revealing the high risk of cancer and other diseases in Haiti due to contaminated rice imported from the United States. The platform recommends a criminal prosecution of the American state and rice producers for the illegal dumping, with emphasis on the laws regulating the products on the market. This call to legal action takes place after the publishing of a study made by the University of Michigan in partnership with the Community Agriculture Organization of Haiti, in which experts determined that rice exported to Haiti, mainly from the United States of America, contains unhealthy levels of arsenic and cadmium, which can increase the risk of various cancers, heart disease, diabetes, and other health conditions. On Wednesday, the United States local media reported that authorities ordered the evacuation of a nuclear weapons facility due to the threat of a wildfire in Texas. In this regard, Leif Pendergraft, spokesman for the production office of the National Nuclear Security Administration, stated that the evacuation of the main U.S. nuclear weapons facility is due to high winds, dry grass, and unusually warm temperatures. On the other hand, he added they have a well-equipped fire department that has been trained for these scenarios. It is worth noting that Texas Governor Greg Abbott issued a disaster declaration for 60 counties since the fire broke out on Monday that has so far scorched more than 1,000 square kilometers.
Currently, we are responding to the plant, but there is no fire on site or on our boundary. We have evacuated our personnel, non-essential personnel, from the site just in an abundance of caution. But we do have a well-equipped fire department that has trained for these scenarios, that is on site, watching and ready should any kind of real emergency arise on the plant site. We also have a fully staffed emergency response organization who has activated. We are monitoring the scene, and we are continuing and will continue on through the night to ensure that the Pantex plant is protected and safe.
Mexico's National Center for Prevention of Disasters reported that in the last 24 hours, the Popocatépetl volcano recorded 77 exhalations, 952 minutes of tremor, and a volcanic tectonic earthquake. However, the volcanic alert is at yellow phase 2. According to the National Disaster Center, after the increase in activity in May and June 2023, since July there have been several episodes of high-frequency tremor of low to very low amplitude associated with the continuous emission of ash, sporadic exhalations, and low-intensity explosions, which have generated columns of up to 2 kilometers in height. Several municipalities reported light ash fall during the day, and the ash spewed by the volcano forced the cancellation of 22 flights at the Mexico City airport. It was reported that the yellow alert phase 2 level does not represent a risk to the population. Let's take a short break, but remember you can join us on TikTok at TeleSUR English, where you will find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. Other stories coming up. Stay with us. Welcome back from the south. In Bolivia, the Vice Minister of Transportation, Israel Ticona, died tragically on Tuesday night in a traffic accident when he was on his way to attend to the demands of transporters who were blockading the Cuatro Cañadas region in Santa Cruz. Visibly distressed by the situation, Minister Edgar Montaño was in charge of confirming the incident. The incident occurred while the politician was driving a vehicle to the region of Cuatro Cañadas, Santa Cruz, to engage in dialogue with the drivers who had started a road blockade. Two of his companions, Tupac Valda and the driver Franklin Terceros, were injured and in serious condition in a hospital. Authorities report that it was a collision with a truck. In addition, they assured that they are conducting an investigation to determine the causes of the accident and to be able to provide further details. On Wednesday, in Ecuador, local media highlighted that speculation is evident in several products and services whose prices have already increased since the announcement of President Daniel Noboa of an increase of the value-added tax to 15% starting April 4th, 2024. In this way, in spite of the fact that there are at least 2 weeks to go before the increase of the value-added tax becomes official, the prices of products such as potatoes, tomatoes, eggs, beer, soft drinks, cigarettes, among others, have increased their value. Meanwhile, in the first days of March, the law to confront the internal armed conflict will be published in the official gazette, and the president may modify this tax up to a maximum of 15%. On the other hand, final consumers denounce an increase in the prices of products of between 5 to 10 cents, together with the lack of price control. In Nicaragua, the Secretary of the Russian Security Council, Nikolai Patrushev, held a meeting on Tuesday with representatives of several Latin American nations to study mechanisms for the protection of their sovereignty. The high-ranking Russian official arrived in Managua, the capital of the country. His extensive agenda included a meeting with representatives of the governments of Nicaragua, Bolivia, Cuba, and Venezuela, where he presented a strategic multilateral cooperation mechanism. This cooperation will make it possible to plan and strengthen the sovereignty of Latin America and the Caribbean. Measures to counter foreign interference in the internal affairs of sovereign states were discussed in detail, in addition to elevate its role in the international scenario and protect the region and Russia from the illegal coercive measures imposed by Washington and its European partners.
It is important for us that more and more Latin American countries seek to implement an independent policy. Therefore, Moscow will continue within its possibilities to contribute to the work of prevention of interference in the internal affairs of your countries, campaigns to discredit their legitimate authorities, intimidation of their people, and destabilization of their economies.
In this context, General Julio Cesar Aviles, commander of the Nicaraguan army, ratified that the independent nations of the region want peace.
And from our own efforts, respectful and fair relations with brother countries, to have the opportunity to develop and prosper with security, stability, tranquility, and peace.
In Guyana, the leaders of the Caribbean community closed on Wednesday the 46th conference after days of intense debates on the main problems of the region to outline strategies to overcome them. Apart from the heads of government of the area, the conclave was attended by representatives of countries from Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and North America to broaden contacts with the Caribbean countries and explore the potential for cooperation. The President of Brazil, Luis Inácio Lula da Silva, joined the closing day on Wednesday and also held working meetings with his Guyanese counterpart, Irfan Ali, and that of Suriname, Chan Santoki, to discuss matters of bilateral and trilateral interest. The 46th Conference of the Heads of Government of CARICOM was focused on deepening regional integration and better promoting the interests of the Caribbean in the international arena. On Tuesday, a brigade of Cuban medical specialists arrived in Honduras aiming to support the improvement of the public health system in the Central American country. In this way, the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Enrique Reina, and the Minister of Public Health, Carlos Paredes, among other members of the executive, as well as the Ambassador of Cuba, Juan Loforte, received the 120 Cuban doctors at the Palmerola International Airport. In this regard, a Cuban international assistant with more than 60 years of experience arrives to Honduras within the framework of the agreement signed between both nations at the beginning of February. According to the Honduran health authorities, during the 2-year stay, they will strengthen the public health system and contribute to the training of Honduran health specialists. In Argentina, governors of the Patagonia region called for dialogue, understanding, and maturity from Javier Milei's administration. During a conference in the Senate, the governors also asked for humility to listen to the different sectors of the country. Ignacio Torres, governor of Chubut, Rolando Figueroa from Neuquén, Alberto Bertnec of Rio Negro, and Sergio Siloto and Claudio Vidal from La Pampa and Santa Cruz, respectively, stated that they consider the impasse settled after the judicial decision in their favor. They assured that they want to build, but they remain on alert. However, they recalled that the policy failed, which is why justice had to come to their aid.
If the government has enough humility to listen to the productive regions, believe me, that Argentina will move forward once and for all.
For his part, Claudio Vidal, governor of the province of Santa Cruz, asked for respect from the national government and regretted that the justice system had to come to the rescue in the face of a new political failure.
In particular, it seems to me a little sad that what was not resolved by political immaturity is now being resolved by justice. The time has come to seek consensus, to work together, to work as a team. The nation, the province, and the municipalities We have to accompany this government. I personally want this government to do well, but there has to be respect.
We have a final short break coming up, but before we invite you to join our WhatsApp community for our English-speaking audience, you can scan the QR code on screen to join directly and share the link to reach more people. Constant news coverage of Latin America and the Caribbean as well as the rest of the world. Stay connected and informed with TeleSUR. Final short break, don't go away. Welcome back from the South. The President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, told the Parliament on Wednesday that she will propose community military purchases and use Russian funds to equip Ukraine. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen told the European Parliament on Wednesday that the threat of war for the EU may not be imminent, but it is not impossible. Therefore, she believes that the European Union should consider using the frozen Russian assets to purchase military equipment for Ukraine. This is an alternative to the plan of President Emmanuel Macron, who was left alone by his allies who refused to send troops to Kiev. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov described as suicidal the European countries' announced intention to create a coalition to supply Ukraine with missiles to attack the Russian territory. The statement was made after French President Emmanuel Macron announced the creation of the 9th Missile Coalition during a conference in support of Ukraine held on Monday in Paris with the attendance of some 20 European leaders. Lavrov warned that the alleged coalition is intended to supply long-range weapons to Kiev in order to strike Russia's hinterland. The top Russian diplomat sentenced that those who not only express such ideas, but even allow them to arise in their heads, should use those heads for more rational and safer thinking for Europe.
For the first time in all the discussions on how to further support Ukraine, Macron mentioned the creation of some kind of 9th missile coalition, which will include the supply of long-range weapons so that they reach deep into the Russian Federation, which in itself is suicidal. It seems to me that those who not only express these thoughts, but even allow them into their minds, they should use their minds for more rational, safer things for Europe.
On Wednesday, France faces a crucial vote in the Senate on the inclusion of abortion in the Constitution. Precisely, the debates taking place at the Palace of Luxembourg discussed the conditions under which a woman could have a recourse to voluntary interruption of pregnancy. In this sense, the text is submitted to the vote of the 348 senators who will determine the inclusion of the voluntary interruption of pregnancy in the Constitution, which has been openly rejected by members of the far right. On the other hand, women's rights associations and anti-abortion groups have intensified their efforts in recent days to convince the senators. It is worth noting that this constitutional revision is supported by 86% of French people, according to a poll in November 2022.
This afternoon, our eyes will be riveted on the Senate, our breath will be held, and I hope that we can take a deep breath at the end of the day and say to ourselves that we have enabled the French to safeguard the right that is being undermined in too many countries, even though it was taken for granted. So we're going to wait. It's a vote. A vote by default is always uncertain, but what is certain is that we are being watched. We are being watched. As far as the date of the Congress of Parliament is concerned, as you know, we already need to be sure of tonight's vote. And a lot will also depend on the vote. Yes, the Congress will or may be held next week, or at any rate convene next week, but I don't have the exact date.
On Wednesday, widespread strikes marking the anniversary of Greece's deadliest rail crash brought transport services to a standstill as tens of thousands protested. Trains, ferries, taxis, and the metro came to a virtual standstill at midnight in commemoration of the collision a year ago that killed 57 people. The striking transport workers demanded justice as well as pay raises. Police said 30,000 were protesting on the streets, with more than 20,000 people demonstrating in Athens and 10,000 in the northern city of Thessaloniki. A further 1,000 or so, including victims' relatives, gathered at the site of the crash. Protesters ranging from rail and hospital workers to seafarers and school teachers joined the 24-hour walkout by Greece's largest public sector union, ADEDI, which represents about 500,000 workers. We have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. You can also join us on our social media on Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For TeleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.